Hi, this is Debbie from Lake Elsinore. Welcome to Huell's Gold.
Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O. And in that tar pit he had a saber tooth, E-I-E-I-O. With a rower here, and a rower there, a rower everywhere. Rower. Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O. Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O. And in that tar pit he had a mammoth, E-I-E-I-O. With a here and a there, here a there a everywhere. Allen Hancock had a tar pit, E-I-E-I-O.
All right, we're doing it. Episode 56 of Huell's Gold. I'm Alan.
And I'm Chris.
What's up?
I don't know. I don't even know where to find the gold this week. That stuff is hidden all over the place.
Hidden.
So, first things first, we had 2 themes this week.
Okay. Drop that.
Okay, I guess it's not first things first. Because first thing is always our popping of Icebreakers mints.
It's our favorite.
Yeah.
Okay. So the theme, are you talking about the themes?
Themes, yeah, man.
Dude, the most buck wild theme I've ever heard on any show. Can you think about any other show?
Like episode or just TV show in general?
Well, anything. I'd just say anything to start. We can narrow it
Anything.
down.
Wow. There was that show I was just showing you the other day with Chris Elliott.
Oh,
that my friend Zach hooked me up with.
Yeah, what was that called?
I can't remember. Get a Life.
You Get a Life, yeah.
Yeah, and it's got that REM song, and he's just like delivering newspapers and splashing water in his face. Like,
yeah, that's true.
That was on par with weirdness. Did we get this guy's name?
No.
No.
No, it's just the song was, I think it's Allen Hancock had a tar pit?
Yeah. So, obviously you heard, it's a guy in a banjo. He's out front of the, well, it kind of gives it away, the Brea Tar Pits. And do you think he's just like a street performer? Like, that's my assumption. Like a...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The way that he can transition from those crazy faces to, it's almost like a crisis actor. You know, he's able to go back and forth. But one thing we noticed when he was playing was he was playing like a fieldy.
Dude.
With that guitar.
So, you can't
banjo, not guitar.
Yeah. So you can't really tell from the sound of the banjo, but it's like this double length neck banjo, and he's got it kind of like held upward. And if you're a fan of 90s and 2000s new metal, Bakersfield Best Boys, Korn, the bass player Fieldy would hold his bass kind of more vertically than horizontally. And yeah, another Bakersfield tie-in. We can always find one. So Huell tries to do his little sneak attack, trying to tell you all about the place he's at without telling you what it is, like straight out. Because we're starting in a rowboat this week. I've been to the Brea Tar Pits. Have you?
No, I've only seen it on Last Action Hero.
Okay, we've gone over this before. I forgot about that. I knew what this was immediately. I mean, the boat is covered in tar. There's methane gas bubbling up all around him. It seemed pretty like, Huell, you've done better than this.
Right.
It's a cool intro, though, because he starts spinning around in circles all over in the boat before we get to...
Fieldy.
Yeah, Fieldy, I guess. Banjo Fieldy. And what I'm so happy with is because so many times I have to, like, do these fade-ins and fade-outs of the volume of things and whatnot. And obviously I screw them up half the time anyway. You hear it on the show. Huell just did the perfect fade out of Banjo Boy right into our Sick Boy theme that we got. And here we are, Brea Tar Pits.
We'll notice one asymmetric thing that happens in this. Did you notice that when we're at Brea Tar Pits, there is no California outline with Los Angeles, but
That's
we
true.
do get that with
Our second segment.
Second segment, yeah.
Well, let's let Huell kind of explain all about this place, even though we've given it away. But here we go. Huell, hit it.
It's a strange and wonderful place, made even more bizarre by the fact that it's located right alongside busy Wilshire Boulevard, right in the city of L.A. We're talking about the world-famous Brea Tar Pits, and to say this place has a lot of history connected with it is an understatement. You see, 40,000 years ago, this area was full of asphalt, bubbling up from underground. It formed pools which trapped animals, and over a 30,000-year span of time, thousands and thousands of animals were trapped and preserved in this sticky stuff. Jumping ahead to the 1870s, this area was an asphalt mine, and when the workers were digging, they found all kind of big bones and merely threw them away. They didn't recognize their significance. But in the early 1900s, scientists and archaeologists did start to appreciate just what was here. And as they dug, they uncovered a treasure of perfectly preserved animal skeletons from an age long past. This was a major discovery, and the owner of this land, Colonel G. Allen Hancock, donated it to the County of Los Angeles in 1916. Today, the original asphalt mine from the 1870s is still around and is full of bubbling, oily water. It's known as the Lake Pit, and it's the place most tourists and school children think of when they think of the tar pits. But when you walk around the grounds of Hancock Park, you also find other pits, some inactive from earlier digs, and some active, like good old pit number 91, which is still full of goodies.
So we're at pit 91, right?
Oh, yeah. This is the one that has all kinds of big bones.
All kinds of goodies still left behind. And I didn't go to this area. Like, when I went to the little Brea Tar Pits, it was only like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. And I just pulled straight in the parking lot and went straight into the museum, which we're going to get to. But I didn't know there was, like, straight-up archaeology going on in the backyard.
Yeah, who knew?
Well, Huell, obviously, and your Uncle Rick was there, too, I guess.
Oh, Unc?
Yeah.
Rick, his name's Rich.
It's
Richard Wheeler.
I like, whenever it's Richard, I like calling people Rick. It just...
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Rick is short for Richard.
Oh, I know.
Ricky?
Because I had Uncle Richard.
Oh, so you
this
really...
one- Yeah, not... I did.
Wow, okay.
He died recently, so thanks for bringing that up.
Oh,
But,
sorry. You have, like, so many family relatives, I can't keep track of them all.
Yeah. he was Uncle Dickie, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
They're so... Okay, Richard is one of those names that's got the most variations on nicknames. There's Rich, Rick, Dick, Dickie, Ricky, Richie. Like, how many more do we need? It's one name.
Yeah, that's pretty... Yeah, so maybe a relation, hopefully.
So, as Huell's going down into the pit here with your Uncle Rick, Uncle Dickie, did you... When you first see old Ricky, does this guy at all resemble, act like your real uncle, R.I.P.?
Makes me feel like he's part of the family. Not at all.
Not. I've never met this uncle of yours,
So
but I just can't
I'll tell you a
imagine.
story about.
Is this
Uncle-
your mom or
Uncle
dad's
Rich.
side?
It's my dad's side. This is his
Okay.
brother.
Yeah.
When he would go to Mexico, people thought he was Big Hoss, and they would take pictures with him.
From
Bonanza.
Bonanza. Okay.
So, like, I'll show you a picture side by side.
Yeah, this Richard Wheeler here definitely does not look like Big Hoss.
No, he's definitely lacking on that old Western manly side.
Does he kind of have like? He almost gives me a Don Knotts, Barney Fife kind of a vibe. Because he has the like.
Dude, the construction hat when it pops that high off your head, the top of your head.
He's just
Makes
got
it
thick
look
hair.
goofy.
I mean, I'm jealous of his hair.
It's the old grandpa hats where you don't
Exactly.
pull the hat all the
yeah.
way down to save the.
Especially with the trucker hats, and you can kind of see through it and see that negative space.
Yeah, they have to feel the wind passing over
Totally.
the top of their hair. Yeah.
Speaking
So
of
what do you think about that shirt?
the paleo,
Lab
is it?
volunteers.
yeah, with the big old mammoth thing.
I think that's probably from the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles.
Well, I would assume so.
Mm-hmm. We don't know.
Or just the La Brea museum that he's working for. But Richard, he says that he's been a volunteer for many years here. And this does sound like a cool hobby to get into. He didn't really go much into like whether he's a volunteer, so he's obviously not paid. But if he has,
did you look him up,
No, did you?
bro?
Oh wow! I didn't even. I mean,
Okay.
it's a pretty common name. I didn't even want to go there.
Let's pause this and let's look at his profile that I saved right here.
Okay,
This is amazing.
dude, that was more information than I've ever seen.
As I told you, I couldn't. We had to look at it. So, what do you think?
I don't even know where to
What's your
start with this guy.
Initial thought.
So, okay. In relation to this episode, he was in this volunteer position for 17 years.
Until 96?
8, I think.
Oh, 90.
Like-
Or,
I don't
Well,
remember.
no, because he ended up working as a senior excavator from 97 through 99.
That's right.
So he
that was
probably
those
got paid
years.
for only 2 years.
Okay.
Probably till 96 then.
That is so the tip of the iceberg with this guy.
Yeah.
He is into so many things. He's living in Ecuador now.
He has he was starting at that intentional community in Big Sur.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
he started with the structural integration, which is, it looks like massage therapy. I don't know.
It's Rolfing.
It's
If you're-
Rolfing. I
you're
don't.
familiar with that.
I'm
Never heard it.
completely ignorant of this. So
I thought it was going to be like a dog puppet, Rolf, like massaging you.
no, for me, it's just you see people sitting down, hunchbacked, and they're doing massages.
Yeah.
So that's what it looks like, but I don't know. Anyway, obviously, he's sold on this because now he's founded an intentional community in Ecuador.
Which you could buy property from him.
You check that out. What was it?
I mean, there are like 4-acre lots for $100K. There's this giant like Cafe Cosmos that you can get for $220,000.
Oh, dude, there you go. Well, if you ever wanted to Rolf or get Rolfed or whatever.
It is very interesting stuff. This guy has a very elaborate biographical website that should we link it?
I
to
think
them?
in the show notes page we
Yeah,
should.
might as
Because he's
well.
also, he creates artwork around synthetic biology.
It's,
And he has Baroque. What did he call it? He plays it on harmonica. He said Baroque-esque.
it was an arc lute.
Arc lute and harmonica.
It's like Renaissance-y looking. We couldn't listen to it, but just based on the instrument pictures and descriptions. Either way, that's what he's doing now. Back then, he is, back then being this time period in 1995, he is giving into his intrinsic primate curiosity, that's a direct quote from Uncle Rick himself. And looking in Pit 91, which he spent almost 20 years in, digging up bones in the tar. And he's not alone, because he's with old Tony Tejada Flores, who doesn't get a lot of screen time.
No.
But she's there for support. And
Without support.
yeah. And it seems like a really cool job if you're into like really getting down and dirty, which I said down in the dirty as a description for these two, because Huell, what did he call it? It's not very glamorous work.
Yeah. That was what did he say? I have it here. he said it a few times about not being glamorous.
Uh-huh.
But he said, "This isn't glamorous, you understand. This is not a way to encourage volunteers."
Like, obviously.
But yeah, dude. Whoa. All right, so then we are on to the George C. Page Museum.
Not quite.
No?
No.
What do your notes look like?
I mean, we are technically on our way there, but in the show, he says, like, or it makes it seem like we're on our way to the museum after seeing Tar get
Oh, right, yeah.
put in a bucket, and then it seemed like a longer walk than Huell was expecting, and something happened along the way. Because again, there's like this whole backyard area.
I forget about this.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's this whole like big park area, which I must have just missed when I went there. But Huell was just enamored with the fact that there's asphalt that's bubbled up all over the place. And
Yeah, and he really loves the, what does he call it, the squishiness of the tar.
So much so that he pretty kind of boneheadedly gets himself stuck in the tar. Because I guess it was kind of a, like, not too warm of a day, since it wasn't, like, more viscous, liquefied stuff. It was more thick, and Kathy McNasser, who's an archivist there, is with him.
Good news on Kathy.
What you got?
Still there.
Really?
Yeah.
Still in, like, the same position, as far as you can tell?
Yep. So she's been there for the past 30 years. She says she's worked in the museum in many capacities, including exhibit design and installation, fossil collection management, and as a retail buyer for the gift shop.
Oh, that's
Jack of all trades.
that is all over the place.
But she does have a BA in Fine Arts from Pitzer College, if I'm saying that right. I never actually said that out loud. So,
Sounds good enough.
and a master's, one of those Claremont colleges.
Yeah.
And a master's degree in cultural anthropology from California State University, Los Angeles. She's a member of the Society of California Archivists and the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology.
Wow. Okay.
So there you
She's deeply entrenched, not only in the tar, but the tar pits.
Right, and lastly, I should say this too.
Oh, wow.
I can't forget this. This is what she led with.
Okay.
That she is keenly interested in the history of paleontology in the western United States prior to 1950.
Well, it's a good thing she's where she's at, because that's mostly what that is.
So there you go. That's all I got on Kathy.
Once Huell gets himself stuck, he has to then, as you can imagine, get himself unstuck. And then from there, we're heading on. Huell, where are you heading?
Well, I finally got unstuck, and we made it to the Page Museum, where we met up with Mr. Page himself, who insisted on taking us on a personal tour of the place, starting with the Bone Room.
All right. That's funny every time.
Oh, dude.
So, George C. Page Museum, rarely are places that are named after a dude. Is the dude still alive and hanging out there? Like,
I don't know.
when he said, like, oh, the George C. Page, here he is, it's like, oh. Usually you name,
It's like you just.
or it gets named, like, in memoriam of you. You don't name it after yourself.
Surprisingly, he doesn't talk very much, old Mr. Page.
Well, no, he wants the bones to do the speaking for him, I
Yeah.
guess. Now, having been to the Brea Tar Pits, this is one of the cooler areas because it's reminiscent of, Jurassic Park when they're on, like, the seated area. They're, like, going around and seeing the dinosaurs get born and the hatched and all that stuff. It kind of feels like that, where it's just like this. I think don't they call it that, the bubble or something in the episode? Or the fishbowl.
Fishbowl, yeah.
Because that is what it's like. You're like looking in at this whole world going on that you don't really get to see. And when I was there, they had some like big old hunk of bone, like a big bone,
Like a camel's tibia?
something like that. Yeah. But One thing that they don't show, which maybe it didn't exist back then, it's weird. They don't show a lot of the museum.
Right.
Have you noticed that? Like,
Yeah.
we're back in the back, which is cool. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff that Huell gives us, but it's a really cool museum to me. And one of the coolest parts of it is there's this whole lighted wall display of nothing but direwolf skulls. There's like 1,000 of them, just all in their own little like cubbyhole kind of things. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it existed back then. That's what I would have been shooting if I were Luis. But
right,
what the heck do I know? I'm sitting in my house in Bakersfield talking on a microphone. So, I don't really remember much of the details of this episode or this section of it because, I mean, it's cool and all. We're back in the back with like the hundreds of thousands of bone pieces and all that stuff with old Chris Shaw, collections manager. Did you look him up at all?
Yeah, I did. Looked like he's retired these days.
Okay.
But I did find a biography where he says that he's, I think, a research associate still.
Okay.
Let's see. What do I got here? Yep. So for more than 30 years, I've conducted regular collecting expeditions to Sonora, Mexico, in conjunction with an international team of paleontologists from the United States and Mexico. So that's, and there's a lot of real fancy biospeak going on here. But, yeah.
It's funny because Huell kind of mentions it in the opening clip bit where he talks about how, I don't know if it's in the clip, I think it's in the intro when he's in the rowboat, when he's talking about how weird it is that there's this paleontological phenomenon, the tar pits and the museum, on busy Wilshire Boulevard. Like, it really is smack dab in the middle of L.A., and it's just like, it's like a legit science museum. And not just like, oh, this is the science museum that we have in L.A. It's like, it's here because the tar pits are here, and they didn't just drain them. Yeah. But one thing that is it talked about in the clip, which is, it's similar to, remember the Old Faithful geyser from like 10 weeks ago or whatever, how they kind of downplayed the fact that it was from a well that a dude, like, oh yeah, it's cool, there's a geyser in California, like an Old Faithful geyser, but
it's
it
homemade.
It's sorta like it's a natural phenomenon, but it wouldn't have been happening in that way if it hadn't have been for some dude looking for water. Same here. I mean, homeboy was digging for oil and stuff and
Right.
asphalt. But cool that it's there and they didn't just like pave over it. I mean, there'd be plenty of asphalt to pave it into parking lot. So,
And then I can just think of Last Action Hero. That's all I can think of.
okay, you brought this up like
there wouldn't be a
long
movie.
ago, and I still have not seen it.
You're messing up, dude.
It's not like I'm
It's a
avoiding
silly
it.
movie, but it's deep.
You're not the guy who likes movies, so you buy them and own them, so then you can show your friends. So what am I supposed to do here?
No, I rent them.
From where?
Amazon.
Okay, I was going to say it's not in Redbox. Blockbuster's long gone.
Maybe Voodoo.
So I have to pay to see Last Action Hero if I want to see
We'll
it.
do it together. It'll be fun.
All right.
Just like I want Kathleen to watch Walk Hard.
Really?
Dewey Cox story. Yeah.
I can almost guarantee you. Okay, so you know when you go into, maybe you don't, when you go into 7-Eleven, there's like a display of DVDs that are just in paper sleeves. Have you seen this?
No.
Yeah, this is a newer thing. I didn't even know it was happening until one of my coworkers said it. Apparently, there's a huge amount of caseless DVDs that existed in the world. Oh, or they just decided to like throw the cases away, and they just put them in like the old, like what you would get a CDR in, or like a software disc in a package of something. I don't know.
Like when you buy certain minutes for AOL.
Exactly. There you go. Yes. But that was even more cardboard.
That's true.
Like, this is straight up just a paper sleeve with just the disc.
Oh, like an HP printer drive.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And if you go to 7-Eleven, that's the last place I saw it for sure. There's a display, and it just says movies. Like a big yellow display. And they're like $2 or $3. And it pays off because there was a movie that I really wanted to see that I didn't want to have to pay a lot for. And it was Borat. Because how many times do you need to see Borat?
Right.
Like once a decade. Because I wanted to show Aaron Borat. And I found it there. We watched it. And then I just gave it to Goodwill. Like, it was a 2-day process. So I'll bet you anything. Walk Hard is there.
But dude, I can rent for $3. I don't have to go to Goodwill.
But I know, but then you get to go to 7-Eleven. You get your snacks right there.
I'm trying to reduce my waste in the world. Okay?
Do you mean like
my carb footprint?
You could mean two things with both those sentences. Do you understand that? WAIST or WASTE?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Hey, you know what?
Because if you're going to 7-Eleven, you're getting hot dogs, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Fair enough. To continue this tangent even more, do you know that 7-Eleven sells whole pizzas?
No.
Okay.
You go to 7-Eleven. I haven't been.
I don't really. It's been like once in the past 3 years. But a friend of mine, he's my number one pizza friend. Like he ate pizza the most of anyone I've ever known in my life. He got to the point though where he actually thought, I'm going to give this entire large size pizza from 7-Eleven a try. Now you've been to Subway.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that special oven that they can toast bread in like 0.4 of a second thing? It's one of those. They have one of those in there.
Looks like it would have been on the Twilight Zone or something.
Exactly. Or like in Back to the Future 2 where just like 2 seconds you put it in and all of a sudden a piping hot pizza comes out. It's one of those. Now, we've talked about this privately. The nostalgia of like cafeteria food.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you want some cafeteria pizza without having to like break into a school?
Yeah. Like...
You go and you get this. It's seriously like $5 for a whole pizza, and it tastes like 4th grade.
See, this is a whole different realm because when we're going with Andrew, right, to a show in Ventura.
Yeah, Descendants.
Yeah. And we stopped at the Pilot in Santa Clarita, or really,
Dude, right? Yep.
Castaic, right?
Yes, Castaic.
Really that area.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me that this is the best sliced pizza that you can get on the road while driving.
I was paraphrasing Andrew. He drove truck for a while, and he told me this for years. And
so we did it.
We did it.
Did we go on the way back, too?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did. Okay. And you got the double slice stacked on top, the foil stack.
Yep.
And it was good. Really, it's funny because the 7-Eleven is an entirely different category of pizza.
Yeah.
It's just nostalgic pizza.
Totally.
Okay. Well, it's established. I guess we're going to have to try it.
No, you really don't have to.
Can I pour hot wing sauce?
You know, I know that's your go-to. I don't know if you're going to be able to find it at 7-Eleven, but
let's bring it with you.
It's 7-Eleven. They got a lot of everything.
True. All right.
Well, anyway.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. I'm sure people have these thoughts when they're listening to the show and driving around California.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine most people listen to the show is driving to and from work. Mainly because our friend Jeremy, who was on an episode a couple back, I think he's the only person I have.
Lunch break or something.
Yeah, he's the only person I have any contact with who actually listens to the show.
You don't think they're watching it side by side, and then think, "Oh, these guys are going on another digression."
Get back to the real Huell meat of the show. Well, that's what we'll do. And Huell is heading south, right? Yeah,
deep south.
Farther south than you may even want to go. Just kidding. Huell, where are you going?
Leaving the tar pits in Los Angeles, we continued our search for hidden gold in San Diego. We were there at the invitation of the good folks from the San Diego Historical Society. who invited us to visit the Junipero Serra Museum, a beautiful building located atop a hill in Presidio Park. Little did we know when we arrived that we were at the site of one of California's true hidden treasures.
So, not only are we far down south in good old San Diego, but we're as far south in the history of California, I guess,
like
as we
that.
can go. Because this is the Junipero Serra Museum. And, I mean, I know who that is. Do you know who that is, just by name?
Oh yeah, Mr. Sarah. He yeah.
Yeah, he was
A lot of the museums.
the
a lot of the missions, yeah.
He was a Spanish missionary who kind of started the mission system. He's pretty integral in California history. And I guess this area where this museum sits is the spot where California started, right? Like,
Yeah, he
it's the first European presence on the West Coast.
So Mark Allen, who is the curator, and he's also part of the San Diego Historical Society, which I really like Mark, by the way.
Yeah.
Just how he comes across. He referred to it as the Plymouth Rock of the West Coast.
Yeah, he did say that. I like that
Yeah,
phrasing.
it's a good way to describe it. So it was the first European settlement in 1769.
Yes. So, first off, you say Plymouth Rock of California. I always thought that Plymouth Rock was a metaphorical thing. And then I went to
So you've
the
seen
East
it
Coast.
in the flesh.
There's a real rock that is supposedly Plymouth Rock. And it's like down on the beach, but you can't touch it. It's surrounded by concrete. You're like 10 feet above it. It's really funny because it's super tiny. Tiny, relatively. It's like maybe 7 feet by 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be gigantic, but people kept chiseling pieces off of it to keep. And now it's little. But this is more of a metaphorical, obviously, Plymouth Rock.
Right. First contact.
Yeah, because it was the site of a fort, which is, California being founded both by missions and fortifications. It was the military and the Catholic Church kind of dually coming in and settling this area.
So,
But you said Mark Allen. He is a guy that Huell met before. Huell mentions this.
at a California Historical Society meeting.
Yes.
That was pretty interesting, and I was thinking about it. How do you think he was? So Huell was received with professional historians.
I've wondered that.
He's sort
Yeah.
of like a pop historian, but people, because even when we talk to people who we'd consider historians, really like the guy.
Well, okay. I'll base my opinion on two things. One, Huell did get a degree in history, for one, so he's got as much. He's got as much right to call himself a historian as I do, because I have the same degree. Secondly, he had, which you can go visit at Chapman, a gigantic library of books on all the places in California, all the historical periods in California. And I'm sure he didn't sit and read every single one, but him and his co-workers would research the places, and you gotta have to be of that historical makeup of your brain to get into that kind of thing.
Right. And
you're not a historian guy, but you still have that research geared brain.
Right. And I think what I was thinking about was, and I thought you were going to bring this up because you know a lot more about this than I do, is when he was talking to Ken Starr,
Yeah.
the famous California historian. Do you remember that episode where he brought up a historical fact, and then Ken Starr said, "Actually,"
Yeah, it was the gold discovery down in Coloma.
okay.
Was it? Yeah, something like that. It was a separate gold rush that had happened.
So that's what I was thinking. Do you think maybe because there's certain elements when he's narrating in these episodes where it kind of glosses over the history?
Uh-huh.
But I just think that he's popularizing history, and people appreciate that. That's how I imagine it to work. I don't think they treated him any differently.
No.
Because he's literally making history cool at this point.
Totally.
So,
And not only history, in this one specifically, he's really making archaeology and paleontology seem pretty cool, because the paleontology we saw over in La Brea is kind of mirrored here in the archaeology that's going on down in that actual fort site, because really the museum itself is not at all what this segment's about. It's about, what they say, like a couple 100 feet down on the beach, that fort site.
yeah, and
That fort night.
well, before we get there, though, before we get to this whole dig out, so Mark Allen, this one actually made me sad.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Did you get anything on him?
Yeah,
And you said sad already, so
you know,
I'm scared of what you're going to
no,
say.
it's not that bad. I mean, he died. He was a younger guy. You know, a lot of people we talk about die in their 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it's not super. They lived a long life. It's interesting. Well, he was born in '66 and died in 2012.
Yeah, man. That's...
So, but he died of brain cancer. That he had for
Yikes.
5 years. But, you know, the obituary said it was peaceful. Okay. I'm not going to harp on that. That's sad, though.
Mhm.
So I really like just how Mark comes across. He's super... his enthusiasm is contagious
Totally.
for this. So, but he was a mountaineer, he's a father, husband, all these things. So anyway, that's Mark. I think it's cool that he got to meet Huell. Okay, all this is happening. He did mention that, so you were talking about the beach, and then he mentions actually how, oh, well, if we didn't get Colorado, the water from the
Oh, I
Colorado
was gonna
River,
bring that up,
nothing
yes.
would be green. But that's besides the point, because kids ice block down the side of the hill.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking, did
Yeah.
you ever ice block
No.
at University Park?
No. I don't know why. It's not... Okay.
We still can do it. We can go right now and do it.
So that is one of these, like... Obviously, it happened all over, but it was something that happened pretty widespread in Bakersfield, is ice block. It's same as, like, tubing down the Kern River. Like, most people have done it in town. I just never got asked. I don't know. No one ever did it when I was around. I always wanted to.
Maybe we'll do an ice block meetup.
All right.
Get like 50 people there.
It's funny I bring up the tubing down the Kern River. I've never done that either. We need
I
to
haven't either.
Okay. We need to have a day.
My mom, dude,
She would.
she was the fear of God into. Yeah, it was. You're for sure gonna die. You know,
Even-
you know what a rip current feels like, or do you know what you know?
So you're kiboshing this?
Like she would. No, I'm okay with it. But she would give me coaching, as if I ever did get in the Kern River, let your body go loose, don't fight it.
Did she ever take you to the river?
Okay, yeah, I got to go like knee high
Where though? Like at Hart Park?
at Hart Park.
Of course. Yeah. So
It's the wiener part. Like, it's not. It's totally just not going to harm you. People would walk across the river.
well, either way, maybe we'll definitely do the ice blocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark Allen is he just like bones out of the whole show from at this point when we get down to
Yeah.
where the fort was, the archaeological dig, because he was just like, Mark, you got work to do, right? And Mark's like, yeah, I'll see you guys later, and then he's just gone. Then we meet Dr. Jack Williams, who he looks like. Okay, so there's a specific episode of Roseanne where it's a Halloween episode where they're kind of parodying like a Christmas Carol, where there's the three ghosts, and at one point they go to Ghost of Halloween Past, and they go back in the past, and there's a guy who plays young Dan that, like, I got to show you. Hold on, I got to show you.
This is amazing.
Yeah, right. Looks like I'm.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I mean, obviously, whoever that actor was probably is not actually Jack Williams.
We don't know.
True, but Jack seems like a pretty lifelong archaeology dude.
Well, before I heard him speak, I was so expecting a transatlantic accent.
What? Why do you think that?
Just the way he's dressed.
Yeah, I mean, he is
It's such a intent, like a Niles and Fraser accent.
true because he does. seem very out of place because he's at an archaeological dig. There's all these young students who are obviously like volunteering to do the actual hands-on digging. I think I explained this in an episode a long time ago about how archaeologists are far from Indiana
I was going to
Jones.
ask you. Yep.
Yeah, usually they're these kind of guys. There's just like an older guy wearing a suit in the dirt. And Jack plays into the stereotype of what I've heard, having been an anthropology minor in college and met a couple of these dudes. Like, they definitely kind of fall into a specific category. And because Jack also seems to be very present of the camera, there's that part that we're looking at right now at about 21 minutes, 20 seconds, where there's just a bucket of dirt and somehow Dr. Jack finds a great blue bead right there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I'm going too far out on a limb to say that maybe this is a little staged.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's so much different because when old Unc Rich, back in the tar pits.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he shows us a bucket and just a bunch of tar.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, there's stuff in there.
Because
We'll get to it.
yeah, I'm trying to wait to see if they cut between anything. Yeah, they did cut. They cut away to the students digging, and then they cut back, and then it's like almost like clockwork. Woo! Old Dr. Jack just bends down and finds a bright blue bead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see it. Well, I couldn't really find anything on Jack. What's his name? Jack Williams. There is a Dr. Jack Williams that works. It was actually really interesting. He's at the University of Georgia at the law school.
Mm-hmm.
And this obviously has nothing to do with anything, but he has his undergrad in economics, and then he had his JD, so he was a lawyer. Then he got his PhD in archaeology.
Huh.
And he works in tribal law.
Tribal. Oh, okay. Like,
among other things, but that was the most interesting thing that popped out. So usually people don't go from being lawyers. Well, maybe the PhD in archaeology. Honestly, I don't know.
who knows?
Yeah.
But I did find a little bit on Jack Williams. He now works for a company called Paleo West that is an American West, so everything west of the Rockies, a private archaeology firm that is basically, I think, a lot of like non-university related archaeological digs that are put forth by, cities, governments, stuff like that.
Yeah.
They have to hire a private firm to come out and say if they're digging up a new water line, all of a sudden they find some sort of artifact or human remain, they have to stop everything, call that other Jack Williams, who's a tribal lawyer, and then get permission. It's the whole thing. So
right.
He obviously
It's the cottage industry, basically.
yeah, and I think it's a big industry in that there is a lot of work to be done, from what I remember in college, but there's not a ton of firms, and it's like a pretty small field as far as the number of people, but there's a lot going on.
I see.
Plus you're traveling. Like, it sounds like a cool job if you're into like getting out, seeing the West.
Well, yeah, and it's sort of, I don't know how you feel about that. I kind of more of a homebody, but
Oh, yeah,
and then go
obviously, me
visit
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it was sort of when I thought about being, I think you knew about this, when I was studying engine machining,
Yeah.
and I thought I wanted to do automotive engineering.
Yeah.
And you realize that you should get placed on a team that travels around the world, like 10 months a year.
I don't know.
That's not me.
No.
Totally made the switch.
Well, what? Yeah, I don't.
Random fact, but
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a cool job. Not for me. Obviously, I was just an anthropology minor. I kind of liked it. Archaeology does seem like you're either at the top of the food chain or at the very bottom thing. Like you're digging for minimum wage, or you're the lead guy. There's not much.
that's true.
In
Would you say
between.
the same for? Maybe not history. There's a lot more avenues in history to be in
Yeah.
mid-level. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Plus, like, it's just inherent. Where is there archaeology that's going to be going on in Bakersfield? It's very rare.
Right.
Maybe like in the outlying areas, if they're like surveying for new oil digging projects, something maybe.
Well, there was we don't know if it's an urban legend, but there was a rumor that Highland High School,
your alma mater,
was built on an Indian burial ground.
Give me a break.
That's why the grass wouldn't grow there.
That's such a TGIF thing. Gosh. Every sitcom had a Indian burial ground reference.
Well, we do know that the first settlement was on the bluffs as Panorama
is nearby, yeah.
curves into Union.
The local Yokuts Indians of the lower San Joaquin Valley did populate that area.
It's a nice spot, too. It's a good lookout.
Totally. So the last little bit of this episode is pretty cool because there's like a field trip that shows up. And it's, what are these, like 6th graders, you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And, well, 5th or 6th, whatever. What year did you do your, like, California missions?
5th grade.
Okay. I did it.
Maybe, no. It was 4th. It was before 5th.
I did it 5th, but I went to that private school. No, it was 4th grade because I remember the kid I was with when we went to La Purisma. Definitely 4th grade. It was that school. It must be kind of maybe bittersweet if you live in a town that has a mission. Like, it was cool to go on a whole field trip, like be in a bus for 2 hours with your friends goofing off. Because these kids seem excited, almost too excited for having lived in a mission city.
Except for one.
Yeah, dude. So, to set the stage, there's like these big kind of sorting tables that the archaeology interns or students or whoever they are sifting through the material to get rid of rocks and organic material to find any artifacts. And they let these kids just kind of like run up to it and mob all up. And Huell's having to like...
He's muscling,
dude. He's shoving kids out of the way. And there's one kid who looks like... He looks like if Roger Klotz from Doug came to life a little bit. Because he's got the slick back hair and like the grimace on his face.
It's like, yeah, I listen to Crisscross, so what?
Yeah. Dude. Oh, man. And then Huell has to like
Grabbing
yank
shoulders.
other kids out of the way.
Okay, I noticed that these kids are jamming their hands into this dirt box.
Yeah.
There's just a bolt hanging out.
Yeah, they're going to slice their palms.
Oh, man.
Going to get a stigmata going on here.
I'm going to go with tetanus, but...
That's probably more likely. And then, okay, so this is the second week in a row that Huell has had interactions with kids. And based on these two interactions alone, it doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of experience with younger people.
Right.
Because he does stuff that, like, as a prospective teacher, I know not to do, which is, like, let every kid talk at once. Don't say, hey, kids, what do you think of this? Because then you're just going to get screaming back at you. And he did it last week at Knott's Berry Farm. He does it again here where he's like, oh, everyone, just show us what you got. Show us what you have in your hand. And then there's, like, 5 kids trying to, like, muscle in front of each other to show things. And then that bad boy in the blue plaid shirt.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was going to say the first kid, I got a roof part.
Oh,
Says
man.
it twice.
There's a lot of denim in this area also.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's the mid-90s. Denim is pretty slamming as a fabric for not just the bottom but the top of everyone, because Huell's got a denim shirt. There's a girl in the back who's got a denim shirt. I mean, at this time, was it 95? I was like 5th, 6th grade. There's a like a school picture of me around this age. I think it was more 6th, 7th grade, but I had a short sleeve denim shirt that I got from Bugle Boy. And that was
the best.
Yeah, that was the shirt that I wore for picture day because that was my best shirt. So that puts in perspective. I mean, that's the world we were living in about that time.
Man,
so
that's everything.
That's it. There's more archaeology shots, but as far as like the meat of the episode, that is kind of it.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. I don't know why.
A lot of characters in this one.
You know what? I just realized why he called it hidden gold. Because everything was underground. It was hidden underground.
Oh, okay.
Dude. Huell, you're full of surprises, even today.
Well, we could be looking into it a little because he also called the last one important places.
Those were important places to the Vietnamese refugees and stuff like that.
It's true.
As you said last week, though, it's all relative. What's important, what's hidden, because it wasn't hidden old Dr. Jack.
No, it was right on top of a bucket.
Uncle Dickie, yeah.
Uncle Dickie, yeah, that was Uncle Jack, Uncle Dick.
Oh, man. Where are we going next week?
Whew. Let me check it out. We're cruising over to Death Valley to see the pupfish and wildflowers.
That's right. Getting back more to nature on that one. Yep. If I remember correctly, I haven't seen it in a while.
This is also an excellent title of the episode. It's going to be Life in Death Valley.
Dude.
Deep.
It's funny that he spent time with the names of the episodes back then, because like later on, it's just Seas Candy, in and out. It's just what it is.
There's one coming up soon.
Which one?
That's one of my favorites. Center of California.
That it's like in 2 or 3 weeks, right?
It's coming up in 3 weeks.
Okay, because we get Richard, who we met in Wheat Patch, makes a return. Such a rare thing. And that's also where the story that Richard told us, which we might have to, a censored version of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to email Richard again and see if he's got any other little tidbits of anything, but it's like it's definitely the best story we heard of anyone that ever emailed us. Bar none.
We still have that one story we're trying to get. But anyways, we'll figure it out.
Either way, that's going to be a good one. We hope that you come along with us that week, this week, every week, all week.
Oh.
As we continue our search for
Huell's Gold.